The battle on Namek changed everything. Goku unlocked the legendary Super Saiyan form, Frieza's empire crumbled, and the galaxy was never the same again. But what if things were a little different? What if instead of Goku, it was Goten who faced off against the tyrant Frieza? Would the son of Goku, born with immense potential but still so young, fare against the monster who terrorized the universe? If you enjoy conversations like this and want to take part in deeper Dragon Ball discussions, I highly encourage you to join the Dragon Ball HQ Discord server. Link is below in the description. We'll be diving into this topic and more over there. Now, without further delay, let's begin. Let's start with the version of Frieza that most fans remember first, his initial form, the one seen hovering in his pod, casually executing the Namekians without a hint of concern. According to official sources like Daizenshuu, first form Frieza's power level is listed at 530,000. This figure is critical. Not only is it the highest scouted verified number at that point in the series, but it also completely eclipses the strength of every Z fighter present on Namek. To put that into perspective, Captain Ginyu, the strongest of the elite squad, maxes out at 120,000. Post Zenkai Vegeta is estimated to be somewhere between 250,000 and 300,000. Even Piccolo, after fusing with Nail, a fusion that made him a serious contender, still isn't clearly stronger than Frieza in this form. In this state, Frieza effortlessly manhandles Vegeta, Krillin, and Gohan, showing little to no effort. He's not exercising himself, not powering up, simply toying with them like it's sport. It's important to note that Frieza is a control-driven fighter. He enjoys being in absolute command and intentionally operates in his weakest form to mock and overwhelm his enemies. This implies that even within his first form, he may not be utilizing the full 530,000 unless it becomes really necessary. Despite Vegeta receiving multiple Zenkai boosts, Frieza still doesn't view him as a threat, reinforcing how massive the power gap truly is. And this is just the beginning. When Frieza transforms into a second form, the tone shifts dramatically. This is the point in the arc where the heroes genuinely panic. Unlike his calm and smug demeanor in the first form, second form Frieza is more aggressive and emotionally expressive. This suggests he's beginning to take the battle a little more seriously. He explicitly states that his power is doubling, but most agree he wasn't using his full strength before. So it was more accurate to place second form Frieza around 1 to 1.2 million in terms of power. In their first encounter, Piccolo struggles immediately and is forced to shed his weighted clothing. Even then, he's pushed to his limits. Frieza's power-up sends shockwaves through Namek, shattering the ground and summoning massive winds. The series' visual language for a catastrophic power jump. His cruelty escalates here when he impales Krillin on the horn and hurls him into the water, a chilling reminder of his sadistic tendencies. Even when Gohan unleashes a furious rage boost in response, it only momentarily phases Frieza. The takeaway is that Frieza is once again playing with his prey, but now with significantly more power. He only begins to show mild frustration when Piccolo starts pushing back, but he still hasn't transformed out of necessity. This is still just a performance. Then comes third form Frieza, the most unsettling of his transformations, both visually and behaviorally. This form is grotesque. Elongated skull, sharp features, and an alien-like appearance inspired by xenomorph horror. And his fighting style matches this monster's look. Where the second form was still calculated, the third form is pure chaos. Frieza lets out unhinged screams, fires off relentless barrages of energy, and seems more interested in causing pain than winning quickly. There's no official number for this form, but we do know the characters acknowledge another leap in power. Frieza quickly overwhelms Piccolo, who had just managed to keep up with his previous form. So if second form Frieza was around 1.2 million, it's reasonable to place third form Frieza around 1.5 to 1.8 million range. But everything changes when Frieza reveals his final form. The grotesque monster is now gone, and in its place stands a calm, streamlined version of Frieza, an embodiment of lethal precision and quiet confidence. This design isn't meant to intimidate, it's meant to convey control and elegance. In this form, Frieza hardly moves. He doesn't scream or flail. He simply is, and even after receiving multiple Zenkai boosts, Vegeta is no match for him. Vegeta unleashing everything he has, energy blast, confidence, bravado, and all, Frieza still casually brushes it all off. Arms folded, smiling, and barely lifting a finger. It's highly likely that Frieza is still holding back significantly in this state, possibly only using a fraction of his true strength. Estimates for his suppressed version of Final Form Frieza start at around 3 million and rise to 20 to 30 million by the time he begins fighting Goku more seriously. Once Goku arrives, things escalate. He uses Kaioken times 10 and even times 20, but Frieza continues to dominate. Even after Goku lands a massive spirit bomb drawing energy from across the planet, Frieza survives, although visibly injured. It's noted that the spirit bomb almost took him out. At this point, Frieza is done playing. Sometime after Goku becomes a Super Saiyan, Frieza decides to unleash 100% of his power. And with that declaration, everything shifts. His body bulks up, his aura explodes, and he screams with raw intensity. While there are no scouter readings beyond this point, the common consensus based on Goku's Super Saiyan performance and various guidebooks is that Frieza's 100% full power clocks in at 120 million. And for the first time in his life, Frieza is afraid. When Goten makes his debut in Dragon Ball Z, it's during the Majin Buu arc, and let's just say the kid wastes no time making waves. Despite being just 7 years old, he's already trained in martial arts under Chi-Chi's strict guidance, and shockingly, he becomes a Super Saiyan without much struggle at all. This moment actually sets a new benchmark in the series, since he becomes the youngest known Super Saiyan, surpassing even Gohan's early accomplishments. His transformation is sparked during a casual sparring match with his mom, a detail that often gets overlooked. Chi-Chi is stunned and immediately forbids him from ever using that form again. But of course, Gohan gets wind of it and absolutely has to see it for himself. The two brothers spar, and Goten ends up pushing Gohan harder than expected. Their match gets cut short when Videl shows up, but the implication is pretty clear. Goten's raw talent is nothing short of astonishing. Even Gohan begins to feel the pressure. He admits that if he doesn't resume serious training, both Goten and Trunks could surpass him soon. Notably, there is a statement from the Daizenshuu that suggests Goten's power isn't much different from Gohan's. Though, let's not forget that Gohan spent 7 years slacking off after the Cell games, which dulled his edge considerably. He went from being Earth's undisputed strongest to lagging behind Goku and Vegeta, both of whom spent those years staying sharp and continuing to grow. Goten and Trunks keep honing their skills together and eventually enter the young division of the 25th World Martial Arts Tournament. After steamrolling their way through the competition, they clash in the finals. Trunks narrowly edges out a win, but it's a tough fight. Goten doesn't make it easy. The duo later sneak into the adult division under the disguise of Mighty Mask. They end up fighting Android 18, who quickly realizes these two aren't normal kids. Even in base form, their energy output shocks her, and she praises their strength despite their small structure. And this isn't just for show. Android 18 is no slouch. She was stronger than earlier Android Saga Goku and Vegeta even after their intense gravity training. A single Super Saiyan ki blast from the boys, though, is enough to make her sweat and dodge it rather than tank it. While some argue how close Goten and Trunks actually get to Android 18's level, what's not up for debate is that they continue to grow rapidly. Once exposed and disqualified, Goten shifts gears and prepares for something far more serious, learning the fusion dance. Goten tasks him and Trunks with mastering the technique in time to stop Majin Buu, and with Piccolo's help, they get some accelerated training in the Room of Spirit and Time. Inside, they spend roughly 1 to 2 weeks refining their synchronization and raising their power, and the results speak for themselves. When they emerge, Gotenks is born, and the Daizenshuu claims that even Majin Vegeta doesn't measure up to this new fusion. Now, Gotenks isn't just a new fusion, he's a game changer in terms of scaling. When he first faces Fat Buu, Super Saiyan Gotenks is clearly a threat. But after Buu transforms into Super Buu, the gap widens dramatically. This leads to a bold claim from Piccolo that base Gotenks might be able to fight Super Buu, something that should be mathematically impossible based on earlier scaling. But fusion gives us a unique lens to assess power-ups. If we assume that fusion dance multiplies both users' base strengths together and Gotenks needed to bridge a gap that was at least 50 times larger than before, that means each of the boys had to raise their own strength roughly 7-fold individually. That puts their base forms miles ahead of where they started. In fact, as Super Saiyans, both Goten and Trunks are now multiple times stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was during the Cell games. Since Goten in the beginning of the Buu Saga was stated to have the same strength on par with Gohan. These two aren't just catching up, they're redefining the ceiling for what the next generation of hybrid Saiyans can become. Goten would easily slam Frieza in base form at the beginning of the Buu Saga, and it's not even close. Imagine this. Instead of facing Gohan during the Cell games, Perfect Cell had to deal with two half-Saiyans from the future, Goten and Trunks, both already tapping into Super Saiyan before they even hit double digits. These two were born after the Cell games, trained by Goku and Vegeta, and inherited ridiculous potential from birth. By the time they were kids, they were already casually outplacing late Z-level feats. But the question is, could they actually beat Cell, individually or as a team? Could raw latent and hybrid potential be enough to outmatch a bioengineered monster built from the cells of the greatest fighters in the universe? If you enjoy conversations like this and want to take part in deeper Dragon Ball discussions, I highly encourage you to join the Dragon Ball HQ Discord server, link below in the description. We'll be diving into this topic and more over there. Now, without further delay, let's begin. Right from the jump, Cell doesn't just take hits. He practically shrugs off attacks that should, in theory, at least have a scratch. Krillin and Grade 2 Trunks land direct blows, and Cell treats them like a breeze passing by. Even Krillin's Destructo Disc, a move that once forced Frieza to play Limbo, lands clean on Cell's neck and does absolutely nothing. The guy doesn't even flinch. Then, without warning, Cell launches Krillin halfway across the landscape with what looks like a casual flick. Krillin's so overwhelmed that he doesn't even register the pain until moments later. Then Vegeta steps up, lands a solid blow to one of Cell's weak points, and again it's brushed off. Not only that, but Cell responds with a devastating kick that nearly knocks Vegeta unconscious in a single strike. This isn't just a fight, it's a demonstration. Now to Vegeta's big moment, the final flash. It's a dramatic, built-up heavy attack. Cell, appearing confident, is still caught off guard, but he reacts just in time to minimize the damage by shifting his position. It's easy to underestimate this feat, but remember in the anime, the the beam crosses a cosmic body in about 4 seconds, something fans calculated to put at a speed exceeding 5 million times the speed of light. Whether you buy that number or not, the implication is clear. Cell's reflexes and awareness are on a different plane entirely. Afterward, we get Cell versus Grade 3 Trunks, and this is where Cell plays mind games. He tells Trunks he's outclassed and Trunks has surpassed him in raw strength. But if you watch closely, it's clear Cell's not showing even half of what he's capable of. His casual demeanor, the minimal impact of Trunks' strikes, and the later comments from characters like Korin all point to one conclusion: Cell is still toying with his opponent. We also have Goku's placement to consider. After emerging from the hyperbolic time chamber, Goku is vastly stronger than before, easily eclipsing both Vegeta and Trunks. Yet, even with this jump in power, he openly admits he still can't beat Cell. He's not guessing, he knows it. And this isn't just some exaggerated anime flair, this comes straight from the manga and multiple official guides that label Cell as the strongest being in the universe at the time. Then comes the Cell games. Before the real battle begins, Goku and Cell go through what's essentially a warm-up round. Goku quickly realizes that even a moment of carelessness could get him wiped out. That's not something Goku says lightly. What's fascinating here is how different the anime and manga depict this fight. In the anime, Cell is portrayed as going all out. No fewer than 7 different sources, both in dialogue and in guidebooks, insist that Cell is using his full strength. Meanwhile, the manga tells a different story. There, Cell is holding back. Goku even calls out the moment when Cell finally gets serious during his later fight with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. The fight with Goku also features techniques exclusive to the anime, like the multi-form technique. Normally, this move divides a user's power, but Cell seemingly overrides that limitation, causing even Tien to acknowledge that Cell has mastered it beyond what he ever could. Eventually, they ditch the ring altogether and turn the entire Earth into a battleground. Goku pulls out the instant transmission Kamehameha, a risky but powerful move that annihilates the upper half of Cell's body in a flash. And yet, Cell regenerates this with ease. Not just physically either. He shows signs of serious fatigue, which leads to an interesting debate. Does Cell have infinite stamina? According to multiple sources, including Daizenshuu 7 and the Dragon Book, Cell inherited Android 18's infinite energy reactor. That means his energy literally doesn't run out. Some fans point out that he appears winning in battle, but that can also be explained. His body can take damage, but his energy supply is bottomless. Once his physical form recovers, so does his output. And here's where Cell really flexes his superiority. Eventually, Goku gives up. He throws in the towel and volunteers Gohan, admitting that his son has surpassed both him and Cell. And that's not a throwaway line either. Goku does mean it. But even after that, Cell still toys with Gohan, holding back to an absurd degree. It's not until Gohan snaps emotionally that Cell finally begins to struggle. Until that point, it's abundantly clear that Cell is above Gohan, who's above Goku, who's above everyone else. A common defense for Gohan's performance here is the idea that he was mentally restrained, hesitant to fight, and therefore not giving it his all. But honestly speaking, Gohan isn't actively engaging with Cell blow for blow at this point. He's mostly just dodging, evading, and holding back. That kind of behavior doesn't require intense killer instinct, so the whole idea that he was mentally nerve angle doesn't really hold up against Gohan's strength. Furthermore, Cell isn't just being sadistic for fun either. He's provoking Gohan deliberately, torturing him and his friends in an effort to draw out the hidden potential he sensed during their battle. That's when Goku finally lays his cards on the table and tells the others that only shot Gohan has at winning this is if his latent power comes out in a fit of rage. And mind you, this declaration from Goku happens before he even understands the full extent of Gohan's aversion to violence. So it tells us something very important. Goku himself doesn't think Gohan as he is can handle Cell without a serious power boost. There's a passage in El Manga Legendario claiming Gohan has surpassed everyone, but this likely refers to the moment he attained the Super Saiyan 2 transformation, even if he wasn't using it yet, or referring to Gohan's hidden potential strength. If anyone still doubts who is stronger at that point, look no further than the official volume summary of the manga. It straight up confirms that Cell held the title of the strongest in the universe until Gohan broke through his Super Saiyan 2. That alone settles the Super Saiyan Gohan versus Perfect Cell debate pretty clearly. Cell, still unsatisfied, creates the Cell Juniors to torment the remaining fighters. And here's an underrated detail. According to several official guides, each Cell Junior has power equal to Cell himself. They aren't just mini-me's, they're full-on beasts. Of course, this would be averring to suppress Cell, as when Cell uses full power later, it's seemingly the strongest thing they've sensed at the time. Eventually, Cell's plan works, and Gohan's patience snaps and he erupts in anger, unleashing a rage-fueled Super Saiyan transformation. But even this boost isn't enough. Cell mocks him, unimpressed, and continues to dominate the fight. It's not until Gohan breaks into Super Saiyan 2 that things flip completely. From that point on, Cell is clearly outmatched. There's a compelling detail here too. Some sources suggest Gohan was already going all out once he reached Super Saiyan 2, meaning that the massive Kamehameha that vaporized Cell's body might have been a full power blast, which becomes important later. Desperate, Cell panics and repeats Trunks' mistake, bulking up into the inefficient Ultra form. He beats Cell back into his semi-perfect form with ease, forcing Cell to cough up 18, and in the last act of desperation, initiates self-destruction to take the planet with him. That's when Goku makes his legendary sacrifice, teleporting Cell to King Kai's planet, taking the explosion on himself. But as we know, Cell isn't finished. His core survived, and thanks to his Saiyan DNA and regeneration, he returns stronger than ever. The Daizenshuu describes this new super perfect Cell as having powered up dramatically, specifically noting his boost was like Gohan's. Now you can interpret that a few ways. Maybe Cell received a similar boost in scale to Gohan's transformation, or perhaps the phrase just draws a narrative parallel, not an exact multiplier. But contextually and linguistically, it seems that the implication is Cell's power increase was comparable. If that's true, then the math is pretty straightforward. If Gohan and Cell both got equal tier boosts, but Cell started out stronger, then Super Perfect Cell would logically be the top dog. This lines up with the feats as well. Even holding back, Super Perfect Cell lands a blast so devastating it slashes Gohan's power by more than half in an instant. Now, when fans talk about Goten and Trunks, there's a knee-jerk tendency to assume they're automatically weaker just because they're kids. It's like some people equate age or size with power, as if, being honest, and Dragon Ball hasn't contradicted this multiple times. Fandom often inflates the value of experience and seniority, even though brute strength has been shown to trump both when push comes to shove. Another factor muddying the waters is how little combat time Goten and Trunks actually get. Outside of sparring with each other and fighting Android 18 during the tournament, we don't really see them pushed much on their own. The lack of screen time makes it easy for people to underestimate them, I would imagine. But with that set aside, let's talk about the power scaling for both of them, because that's where things get pretty interesting. When you're discussing Goten and Trunks' strength in the Buu Saga, you have two major sources saying essentially the same thing in different flavors. The Daizenshuu makes the claim that Goten and Trunks' combat power is not below Gohan's. A statement from volume 20 of the manga flat out calls them stronger than Gohan as well. Now, people interpret these kind of statements in two major ways. The more aggressive interpretation is that Goten and Trunks are stronger even in base form, but the more grounded view is that they're comparable to Gohan when transformed. So when all three are Super Saiyan, the power gap is minimal or non-existent. This is actually backed up by how the guidebooks order their information. The Daizenshuu first notes Goten's similarity to Gohan and then mentions that Goten has the ability to transform, implying that the comparison was based on their Super Saiyan states. However, there's a noticeable wording difference in the guides, some saying equal, others saying stronger, but that can probably be explained by Goten's lack of refined ki control as stated in El Manga Legendario. Despite mastering techniques like Kamehameha, Goten hasn't yet fully grasped how to manage his own energy. He has a lot of raw power, but his finesse or control isn't there, which makes sense given that Gohan himself believes Goten will surpass him and doesn't surpass him yet. So based on all of that, it's reasonable to put Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks somewhere at the level of Super Saiyan Gohan during the Cell games, since it's stated that Buu Saga Gohan has actually plateaued in strength and stayed the same, only being weaker than he was during the Cell games because he no longer has his rage amplification. So this would still put them below Perfect Cell even if they work together, and Super Perfect Cell is easily twice the power of that version that fought Gohan. So by that logic, Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks by the beginning of the Buu Saga would not be able to beat Perfect Cell, much less Super Perfect Cell. However, once Goten and Trunks step into the hyperbolic time chamber and learn fusion, everything changes. Normally, we can't measure gains in Dragon Ball without actual numbers, but fusion lets us cheat the math a bit. See, Super Saiyan Goten is widely considered capable of thrashing Fat Buu, but then is instantly irrelevant against Super Buu. Later, Trunks claims that base Gotenks could take on Super Buu, meaning their fusion had reached a new massive plateau. If Super Buu is stronger than Super Saiyan Gotenks, then base Gotenks must have powered up enormously to even be considered a contender. Now, here's where we get specific. If the fusion dance multiplies the strength of both users together, and Gotenks need to be 50 times stronger than before to be viable, then Goten and Trunks must have increased their own strength by roughly 7 times individually, which is the square root of 50. So what does that mean? It would mean that as Super Saiyans, both Goten and Trunks are now at least 3.5 times stronger than Super Saiyan 2 Gohan was back during the Cell arc. Either of them on their own could tear through the entire Cell games lineup without breaking a sweat, including Perfect and Super Perfect Cell himself, making the matchup between Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks towards the end of the Buu Saga versus Super Perfect Cell not even close. As a matter of fact, they don't even really need to work together. Individually, they could beat Cell on their own.